Sorry about that, everybody. I actually do not know what happened. I'm going in, and next thing you know, the whole feed cut. We were disconnected, and I don't particularly know why. So, um, we're live again. Hopefully, everybody will come back, and I'll give it a few minutes. But I have no idea what happened there. Um, I hope there's not a I hope there's not a interface problem because the way StreamYard, for those that don't use StreamYard, for those that don't use StreamYard, we broadcast this simultaneously between three platforms: Mossy Warrior Clan, YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, and my Facebook. Whenever I broadcast, so I hope there's not an interface issue. Um, with the platforms that made it cut the feed. Yeah, Chavis, take two. So we gonna try this again. Should have stayed in my damn bed. All this damn technical issues. Okay. Let me see if it's showing the right way. Okay. So as I was saying, Bloomer's Cave is an archaeological site and nature reserve about 300 kilometers east of the Cape Town of the Southern Cape coastline in South Africa. The cave contains Middle Stone Age deposits currently dated at between 100,000 and 70,000 years before present. The excavations at Bloomer's Cave have yielded important and new information on the behavioral evolution of anatomically modern humans, or sometimes they refer to this as anatomically correct humans, basically what we are. Archaeological record from this cave site has been central in the ongoing debate on the cognitive and cultural origin of the early humans and to the current understanding of when and where behavioral innovations emerged among Homo sapiens in southern Africa during the late Pleistocene era. I don't know if I said that right, but this is a late era in development of humans. The Bloomer's Cave, dated the same type of years that we said above, are considered to represent the great ecological niche adaptation and more diverse set of subsistence and procurement strategies, adoption of the multi-step technology and manufacture of composite tools, stylistic elaboration, increased economic and social organization, and occurrence of symbolically mediated behavior. So think about that right there. We're talking about early humans, right? And all of just from this cave, they extracted all that type of information, all that type of information just from this cave because they were living there. And whenever people live, you can tell a great deal about a person from where they live. And that's even to today. You go to somebody's house, you can tell how they live. So the caves were our living places at one point. In 2001, archaeologists found a small rock fragment among spear points and other excavated material. After extensive testing for 7 years, it revealed that the lines drawn on the rock were handmade and from Ocha crayon dating back 73,000 years. It's crazy. We often look at cave art, but we never really talk about where they made the color for the cave art. This makes it the oldest known rock drawing right here in Southern Africa. The geometrical markings are astonishing example of a very early creative behavior, contextual information, metamorphic technological and use wear analysis of Bloomer's cave beads alongside experimental reproduction of wear patterns show that Anasaurus crausoneus shells were strung perhaps on a cord or sinew and worn as a personal ornament. So right here, 73,000 years ago, dating between 100,000 and 70,000 years ago, we have Afrikans in Bloomer's Cave in southern Africa wearing shells, just like we wear today. Cave pretty important, huh? A cluster of 24 perforated Nasaurus crausinus have been recovered from one of the steel bay units and strengthens this interpretation, as it appears that these shells originated from a single bead work. Besides the deliberate perforation of the Nasaurus shells, repeated rubbing of the shells against one another and against the cord have resulted in discrete use of wear facets of each bead that are not observed on these shells in their natural environment. So they manipulated those shells by rubbing them together to make these wear patterns. These use of wear patterns are a principal factor that defines the shells as beads. Also, the consistency in the shell size and color indicates the Nasaurus shells were carefully selected. Ochre has been detected inside some of the shell beads, implicating that these were the subject to deliberate or indirect use of ochre as a coloring agent. And these are the shells. These are them. Don't look that far off from what we wear today. 73,000 years ago in a South African cave. Next cave we're looking at is called Pinnacle Point. After debating for decades, paleoanthropologists now agree that there is enough genetic and fossil evidence to suggest that Homo sapiens evolved out of Africa 200,000 to 160,000 years ago. Be advised that they're talking about anatomically correct humans at this point. We know that archaic humans go back further than that. At that time, the world was an ice age and Africa was dry and arid. As archaeological sites dating to that time period are rare in Africa, paleontologist Curtis Maureen analyzed geologic formations, sea currents, and climate data to pinpoint archaeological sites. One such was Pinnacle Point. So this archaeologist studied geologic formations, sea currents, climate data, and everything around the natural environment and said that these Afrikans must have been here. And he was right. Pinnacle Point is commonly known as PP13B. So at PP13B, the evidence for symbolic behavior comes in the form of the scraped and ground what? Ochre. Here we go with ochre again. That may have been used to form a pigment for body painting. And if you know anything about the HADZA, their women use this ochre to this day. You'll find people that use this as body paint to this day other than them as well. So this is an ancient African practice that goes back hundreds of thousands of years. This is similar to the more complex ochre utilization known in what we just talked about in the Bloomer's Cave. In December 2012, the Provincial Heritage Resources Authority Heritage Western Cape declared Pinnacle Point a provincial heritage site in the terms of Section 27 of the National Heritage Resources Act. This provided the site with the highest form of protection under the South African heritage law. You can't go in this cave and just do what you want to do. That's how important it is to the Afrikans. You go in this cave messing around, you go into jail. Point blank, period. And this is what the cave looks like. And these are the archaeologists studying inside of the cave. This is another cave, Apollo 2 cave. It's an archaeological site. It's in Namibia. So this name is given to the surrounding area, presumably that the cave by the Nama people was Gauchanas. So that's another name for this area, but we call it today Apollo 2 Cave. And you can see on the map where it is in Namibia and on Africa, on that southern coast. It's just a picture of the archaeologists that went inside. The cave contains some of the oldest pieces of mobile art ever discovered in southern Africa, associated with charcoal radiocarbon dated from 27,500 to 25,500 before present. The slabs found in the cave are referred to as Apollo 11 stones. In total, 7 gray-brown quartz slabs were excavated from the cave. Besides the slab, the cave contains several white and red paintings. The subject of the paintings ranged in simple geometric patterns to bees, which are still a nuisance to the unwary traveler. Art was also found near the cave in the form of engravings on the banks of the riverbed and on a large limestone boulder located 150 meters from the cave. The engravings consisted of depictions of animals as well as simple geometric patterns. It is hard to pinpoint the dates on the engravings of the paintings, but the paintings may belong to a period that go as far back as 10,400 before present, and the engravings may come from early settlers in the first millennium AD. These dates come from the Wentz stratigraphic record of the site, as well as the evidence from other sites in the surrounding area. So the datings come from what they call a strata test, and strata is just measuring different layers of earth as they go down into the earth. So what we're standing on now would be 2022, and then the further you dig, 1960, and then you just keep going down until you measure the earth as you go down. So that's what they're talking about with the stratigraphic record. This is type of stuff that they found in the Apollo 2 cave. So these are 7 of the Apollo 11 stones. So you can see animals here. You can make out some of the animals. One of them, like Apollo 6, looks like the bees that they were talking about. And as they said in the slide, the bees are still a nuisance in this area to this day. So we know that, they drew them correctly. This is the BAMBATA cave. I know y'all only thought BAMBATA belonged to African BAMBATA, but this is the BAMBATA cave. And it's in southern Zimbabwe. People have interacted with and been inspired by the dramatic natural rock formations of the MATOBO hills for many millennia. The interaction has produced one of the most outstanding rock art collections in Southern Africa. It has also fostered strong religious beliefs, which still play a major role in contemporary local society, and it demonstrates an almost uninterrupted association between man and his environment for the last, how many years? 100,000. Wow. So think about what that sentence is saying. This cave is still important to the local society. Their traditional system, their kimoyo, still plays an intricate part with this cave for the past 100,000 years. The Matobo Hills have one of the highest concentrations of rock art in Southern Africa, dating back at least 13,000 years. The paintings illustrate evolving artistic styles, also socio-religious beliefs. The whole bears testimony to the rich cultural tradition that has now disappeared. So this rock art tradition has now disappeared, but they still revere the site. The rich evidence from archaeology and from rock painting at the Matabo provides evidence that the Matabo Hills have been occupied over a period of at least 500,000 years. Furthermore, the evidence provides a very full picture of the lives of the foraging societies in the Stone Age and the way agricultural societies eventually came to displace them in the Iron Age. The Maori religion is still practiced in this area, and which may date back to the Iron Age, is the most powerful oracular tradition in southern Africa. The MATOBO rocks are seen as the seat of God and the ancestral spirits. The sacred shrines within the hills are places where contact can be made with the spiritual world. The living traditions associated with the shrines represent one of the most powerful intangible traditions in southern Africa, and one that could be said to be the universal significance. This is a community response to a landscape rather than individual ones. The natural qualities of the MATOBO in terms of power of the rocks and of produce from the surrounding natural environment thus have strong cultural associations. And this is what you'll see in these hills. This is some of the art. You can see these Afrikans, and they look like they're hunting because you can see animals in these drawings as well. These are some more. They look like they're hunting. They look like they have spears in their hands, running. This is an outward view of another cave. This cave is called the CHINHOYI, previously called the SINOIA. These caves are a group of limestone dolomite caves in the northern central Zimbabwe. It's designated by the National Park in 1955 and managed by the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority. The local name for the cave's pool, because there's a pool inside these caves. Actually, there's a lot of pools inside of caves, little known fact. But it's called Chiro Rodizvia. The Pool of the Fallen is what that translates to. And it comes from an incident that occurred in 1830 where members of the Agoni tribe attacked the local people and threw their victims into the cave to dispose of them. Now, I've been doing a little research on that attack. It looks like Afrikans was handling business. I'll let you read into that as you will. But the limestone caves were first described by Frederick Courtney Solis in 1888. These caves are the most extensive cave system in Zimbabwe that the public can access. The caves have had an important place in African traditional religion, with the caves themselves as a site for rainmaking, surrounded by a sacred forest for which trees could not be felled. So you can't cut down trees around this cave, and they use it as a sacred site for their rituals. You're starting to see a common theme with caves, culture, and spirituality. So these are some other caves in that area. The BAMBATA cave, it's another one in that area, because remember they call one, and this is the other one. This is a national park now. It's north of a game park in Kezi Bulawayo. This cave, you'll see drawings of elephants, giraffes, warthogs, tesebi, and mongoose. Inake Cave has the most extensive paintings located in the remote cave, accessible by a 3-hour hike from a town called Tongwa Dam. Along the route of the hike is an Iron Age furnace. The Inswatugi Cave contains beautiful friezes of giraffes, elephants, and kudu. The access is from a circular drive, and a human skeleton was actually found in this cave, dating excuse me, to 42,000 BC. It had belonged in the Middle Stone Age. 1 second. Get some water. All right. The Prongmongwe Cave near Malame Dam. This was damaged in the preservation attempt in 1965, where linseed oil was applied to the paintings. Archaeological digs within the downslope of the cave revealed 39,032 stone tools, several hearths, with main fire-making areas were in the center of the cave floor. This sounds like a blacksmithing heaven. Bone fragments showed the hyrax formed a major part of the meat component of the diet of early human inhabitants of the cave. I like to send this slide to vegans so they can get upset. Which also included tortoise and larger game animals. The oldest material on the site is probably pre-Middle Stone Age. I think you're starting to see a pattern here, but I'm going to tie it in at the end of this slide. The White Rhino Shelter is a small site near Gordon Park on the main tarred road through the park. The frieze includes the outline of large rhinos, which is said to have inspired the reintroduction of the species in 1960. What's common here is they all have depictions of animals. The Sand Tribe, the Bushmen, the Khoisan, as we know them. They often dressed as animals in their culture, so it could depict them in actions, but there is no mention of homosexuality. And I put this specifically in here for Jadena, the rapper, because he made a claim that these art images are depicting homosexual acts. And as I just read you, there's no record of that in these paintings or friezes or drawings. They're drawing animals, bro. That was really irresponsible on your part, but this is some Zimbabwe art that you will find in the Atlanta airport. If you don't take the train and just take the walk, you'll find they have a whole bunch of Zimbabwe art just up and down the Atlanta airport. This is the Hadza people. So now we're going to another part of Africa. We're going to the Hadza area. If you don't know about these people and their creation stories and their mythos, I strongly suggest that you study it. They're from Tanzania. So Hadza's oral history of their own past is divided into 4 epics, each inhabited by a different culture. That's important because there are different tribes that came together to make what we call Hadza. According to this tradition, at the beginning of the time, the world was inhabited by hairy giants. They called them Akakanimbe or Gelaimbe. These hairy giants' name means ancestor. Interesting. The Akakanimbe did not possess tools or fire. They hunted game by staring at it, and it fell dead. They ate the meat raw. They did not build houses, but slept under trees, as the Hadza do today in the dry season. In the older versions of this story, fire was not used because it was physically impossible in the Earth's primeval state, while younger Hadza who had been to school say that the Aka-Imbe simply did not know how. The second epic, the Akakan-Imbe, were succeeded by the Tala-Tala-Imbe, equally gigantic but without hair. Sounds familiar, huh? Fire could be made as used to cook meat, but animals had grown more wary of humans and had to be chased and hunted with dogs. The Talan-Imbe were the first people to use medicines and charms to protect themselves from enemies and initiated the Impe rite. They lived in caves. So once again, we find an African spiritual connection to the cave. The caves are our sacred places, so they shouldn't be ridiculed to jokes about white people and all this other things. This is our stuff. Caves are our things. Caves are a part of our culture. The third epic was inhabited by Hamak Wabe, which means nowadays, who were smaller than their predecessors. This also should sound familiar. They invented bows and arrows and containers from cooking, as mastered the use of fire. They also built houses like those of Hadza today. The Kwambe were the first of the Hadza ancestors to have contact with non-foraging people with whom they traded for iron to make knives and arrowheads. The Hakwambe also invented the gambling game Lukoku. I'm looking for this game because I think it's similar to Mkala with the beads, but I'll have to do more research on that. The fourth epic continues today and is inhabited by the Hama Ishhoimbe, which means modern. When discussing this group of people, the epic people often mention specific names, places, and can approximately say how many generations ago events occurred. So, the other point I want to make about this slide, in addition to they lived in caves and initiated people in caves, is this is a story of evolution. And I don't mean evolution in a general sense. This is a story of biological evolution. They told you their first people, the Kakanimbe, they were big beasts that had big fur. They ate meat raw. Those are like our archaic versions of humans. Then they went to the Talaimbe, just as gigantic without hair. We have archaic humans that look like that. Then they went to the Hakamimbe, which were smaller, as humans did get smaller. And then they started making tools, bows and arrows, cooking containers, this, that, and the third. Then they get to today, the Hama Ishomimbe, which means modern. The Hama Ishomimbe is a Homo sapiens of our time. That's what the Hadza people are illustrating for you in their mythos. And these are the Hadza people, still making their tools. Oh, the cliff, the caves, they got everybody up in arms today. The Bandiagara cliff. By now, if you watch the channel, you will know that these belong to the Dogon. According to local history, you know, the Dogon, relatively undisturbed by French colonial powers due to natural tunnels and weaving through these cliffs and compartments. Only the Dogon knew of the tunnels and were able to use them to ambush and repel aggressors. The cave-dwelling Telem was an ethnic group later pushed out by the arrival of the Dogons. I want to make that point because we act like they were the first people in this area. They were not. They used to live in the slopes of the cliff. The Telem legacy is evident in the caves they carved into the cliffs so that they could bury their dead high up, far from frequent flash floods in that area. The cliffs of Bandi Agara are sandstone chain ranging from the south to the northeast, over 200 kilometers and extending to the Grand Maya Massif. The end of the Massif is marked by the Tondo, Mali's highest peak, which is, you see the number for the meters there. Because of its archaeological and ethnological and geological characteristics, the entire site is one of the most imposing in West Africa. And this is what Marcel Griol and many other explorers and archaeologists and scientists have seen once they go into the cliffs. And you can see on the left here those compartments that the slide talked about and how you can go in and out. And those are probably were built by the Telem, in which the Dogon adopted once they migrated to that region. These are some other pictures of the cliffs. Very intricate system of creation. The Sterkfontein Caves. The Sterkfontein Caves. First, I need to tell you that this cave is called, I think this is in the slide. I'll tell you later. The Sterkfontein Caves were a site of discovery of a 2.3 million year old fossil, Australopithecus africanus. It's nicknamed Mrs. Pless. Now, we don't really know if Mrs. Pless is a Mrs. or a male. We're still figuring that out. It was found in 1947 by Robert Broom and John T. Robinson. The find helped corroborate the 1924 discovery of the juvenile Australopithecus africanus skull known as the Tong Child by Raymond Dart at Tong in the northwest province of South Africa, where excavations still continue. There's another fossil called Littlefoot. It's his nickname given to a nearly complete Australopithecus fossil skeleton found in 1994 to 1998 in the cave system known as Sterkfontein, South Africa. The fossils were found in limestone formation. The nickname Littlefoot was given to the fossil in 1995 from a structure of 4 ankle bones. They were able to ascertain that the owner was able to walk upright. The recovery of these bones proved extremely difficult and tedious because they were completely embedded in a concrete like rock. It is due to this that the recovery and excavation of the site took about 15 years to complete. Uh, the nickname of this cave is known as the Cradle of Humankind because it reflects the fact that the site has produced a large number, as well as some of the oldest hominin fossils ever found, some dating back as far as 3.5 million years ago. These are not anatomically correct humans. They are archaic humans, so they are not quite like us, but they are our ancestors. It holds superbly preserved record of stages in evolution of humankind over the past 4 million years. It is the world's richest early hominin site and is home to about 40% of the world's known human ancestor fossils. This is a very powerful cave of information. And the thing about this cave is I've been. I went to this cave. In South Africa, I went I think I went in 2018. Yeah. That's me in the cave. Um it's a remarkable place to go. If you're ever in South Africa, I do recommend going to this cave, going down into the cave where some of our earliest ancestors lived. Another ancestor that was found in that area, not in the same cave, but in that area. Homo naledi. Although archaic features of the skeleton resembled fossil specimens from roughly 2 million years ago, in 2017, the fossils were dated close to 250,000 years ago. As of September 10th of September 2015, fossils of at least of at least 15 individuals amounting to more than 1,550 specimens have been excavated from the cave. Abundant fossil remains are still within the chamber. Newer findings remain of at least 3 individuals, 2 adults, and 1 child in the second chamber are known as Lesedi. Lesedi means light, and they actually have a Lesedi village that I visited as well in Johannesburg, South Africa. So that tells you the importance of light and the importance of this finding to the culture there. They were reported by John Hawkes in 2017. In May 2018, anthropologists provided evidence that the brain of Homo naledi was small, but nonetheless complex, sharing structural similarities with the modern human brain. The fossils were discovered by recreational cavers Rick Hunter and Stephen Tucker in 2013 in the almost inaccessible Dinaledi Chamber, which means Chamber of Stars in the Soto Tswana language, which is Sesotho. Homo naledi was formally described in September 2015 by a 47-member international team of authors led by the South African paleoanthropologist Lee Berger of the University of Witwatersrand, who proposed that the bones represent a new Homo species. Other experts contend more analysis are needed to support this classification. There are some indications that hominin bodies may have been deliberately placed in the cave near the time of their death. So they were burying their dead in this cave, says one school of thought. And this is in the museum I went to. So they're comparing modern Homo sapiens sapiens to what they found in the cave as far as Homo naledi. Now, this is the first Homo of the genius family that is named after Afrikans. This is the first one. So it's something to be excited about, and something to be studied. So they're looking at the cranium, the shoulders, the rib cages, the hands, every part of the human body to compare it to modern anatomically correct humans and other fossils to determine if it was in fact a new Homo species in the evolutionary chain. And they had to dig all those bones out of that cave. So this is where the cave is. You see where it says NALEDI chamber. That is actually where the cave is. And it's found in this area of South Africa. And they said that, they used the actual 3D scans of the cave itself. This image shows the cross section of the route taken by the advanced cave scientists to the cave, 30 meters underground. Important landmarks like the Dragon's Back climb and the Narrow is very treacherous and things of that nature. So look at where the entrance is at the top of the page, and they had to go all the way down past the ladder, past the Superman's crawl, which I'm guessing by that name it must be really long, into the Dragon's Back, into the chute, and then finally into the chamber. So this was also taken in the museum that I was in. The discovery, this just talks about what I said in the slide, um, and how they got into that underground chamber that was filled with bones in September 13th, 2013. This is talking about the excavation. Uh, you know, They said less than 2 months after the fossil discovery, 6 female underground astronauts arrived at the rising star. All were experienced with archaeological excavation, and each brought experience in caving, climbing, exploring, and first aid. It took around a half hour for the team members to travel down into the fossil chamber. Once there, scientists worked with the delicate tools like plastic spoons, paint brushes, toothpicks to free the fossils from the cave earth because they didn't want to damage these delicate specimens. They removed the soils, revealing the bones. They recorded the position of every fragile fossil with a 3D scanner and labeled and photographed it. Each piece was carried carefully back up the chute and through the winding passages to the surface. This was a very meticulous and detailed dig. The, Now, this guy put the call out, Mr. Lee Berger. He put the call out, and he was looking for a specific type of person. He was looking for like a person that was very skinny, very small. They can't be claustrophobic. They must fit. They should have some caving experience. They must be willing to work in cramped quarters and have a good attitude and be a team player. He put this out on Facebook. So this is how he amassed a team of those women that were very small, that were skilled in various areas. Put this out over Facebook and got his team together and went down the cave and got what we got today. And those are the names of the women at the bottom from left to right. And these are all the other caves in the Southern Cape area. These are all of these caves, 16 of them, all very significant to the cultures around them. This is an actual planning board from when they were trying to enter the caves. As you see, day 3, and they say day 1 to 1 day to entry. They're establishing things, they're checking on things, they got names on the board, they got where they're gonna go in, they got where they're trying to be. This is a look into the discovery. Now, no one can reach currently the cave unless they climb through that chute. 12-meter long crack in the rock, only 18 centimeters at its narrowest point. That's not very big. So the chamber right now is not open to tourists. So I could not go to the chamber, but I took these pictures Hopefully, one day they'll find a way to, widen that entry point without disturbing the findings, and we can go down there and see what our ancestors lived in. So now we go to Nubia because it wasn't just the southern coast. Yes, they also had caves in what we call Nubia today. So the discovery of this burial site is more than 100 new surface scatterers in the Dhofar region of Oman, belonging to the regionally specific African lithic industry. The late Nubian complex, known previously only from the northeast of the Horn of Africa during the marine isotope stage 5, 128,000 to 74,000 years ago, to are typically stimulated luminescence age estimates from the open air site of Ibut al Awal in the Oman place of Arabian Nubia complex 106,000 years ago, providing archaeological evidence for the presence of the distinct Northeast African Middle Stone Age techno complex in the southern Arabia in the time of the first half of the marine isotope stage 5. So this is what it looks like. So remember, Nubians traveled to what we call Arabia today. And this is where they lived. So you see at the top, we have two caves here. We have the Sakia cave and we have the Somenin cave. These are two caves which archaeologists have confirmed that Nubians stayed here, or what the people that we would call Nubians, the people that migrated from Egypt and present day Sudan, stayed in this area. And these are my references. You definitely can pause and see where I got what from. 3 pages of references. All of these pages contain different books. They contain websites, links, and of course, my primary research of actually going to South Africa. I definitely recommend it for everybody to go to South Africa. So much history, culture, science. There's so much there. And that is the end of my presentation. And now you can see how important the caves were to African people. So, uh, the cave dweller thing, I know it sounds great telling white people go back to the caves, but we were actually there before they even thought about being in a mountainous cave like area. That is our thing. That is something that we should embrace. We should be revering the caves, going back, making these connections, doing the research, and not giving them to white culture. It's definitely African culture. Thank you, Sister Monica. Happy Father's Day to your father. Um, and thank you for that as well. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat. Appreciate brother Chavis, brother Edward Nigima, 9 times 9, brother Infinite Minds, Teti Ursa Mahat Rasinefru, brother Lavelle, Omar Reed, Rashu, brother Mathis, brother Sutek, sister Benita, Mysterious Aardvark. Appreciate y'all all. Everything is everything. Appreciate y'all all. As always, brother Sean. So there is a question. Did different African tribes teach evolution to their children? The only place I've found this story is in the Hadza people. I do have a few African tribes that suggest it, but I would say the only one that I found that was taught as an actual creation story is the Hadza tribe. So they would have to, yes, teach that to their children. Yeah, that seems to be false, right? Doesn't seem like just white man science. Oh, a hater in the house and a green screen, South Africa. Look, I don't have the money to green screen, but I do have the money to travel. To green screen something that big and that much, I imagine it would cost a lot of money. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But when am I going back to South Africa? I currently don't have plans to go back at the moment, but I do have plans to go to Gambia in the fall. So that's my next place to go, man. I'm trying to go to Gambia. I have to see some people and do some other things while I'm there. Um, so I definitely am making plans to go back to the continent, man. Any excuse I get to go to the continent, I'm going. I actually have some more things to show y'all about uh that Nubian complex, man. Forgot to put them in here. Uh let's see here. Let's see if I can pull this up. Because I want y'all to get the full picture here. I want y'all to get that full picture. Let me go back. Okay. So this is a research article, the Nubian complex of Darfur, Oman, and the African Middle Stone Age in Southern Arabia. So go back. I want y'all to look at some of this, man. So this is the areas, the Nubian complex sites. Like, look at all these Nubian villages, so to speak. And so you see it's coming off the Horn of Africa and going into Arabia. So we got some here, you know, along the Nile, going down, and then you got them coming off the coast, and then you got the isolated Nubian complexes. So there was even more, you know. That's crazy. All of this, we often talk about the ancient Egyptian settlements, but what about the Tasseti settlements? What about the Nahisi? What about all those tribes in Nubia that had settlements in and out of Africa? You know, this is what I was. I'm trying to show you the next without coming out. Oh, I guess I got to. So these are the caves. Look at where they are. You got one here in present day Arabia and Oman. You got another cave here in Egypt. You got another cave here in Egypt. You got another cave in Sudan. You got all these other caves. So when people make those arguments of, there was no black people in ancient Egypt, how do you get around this? How do you get around this? Because you see at the bottom, they did radiocarbon dating, thermoluminescence dating, typically stimulated luminescence, amino acid racemization. They did all of this. And they got the dates, the locations, the references, the methods they use. Like, you can't get around this. Eastern Sahara, Egypt. There's more Nubian cave and settlements in Egypt than there is in present day Sudan. Would you look at that? Let's look at what they found there. Look, all types of artifacts and fragments. We got all the homework. Like, they got all the homework. Man, It's like at some point you can't argue. These people done drove out there. Like they know where it's at. So when I hear people talk about, you know, they and them, you gotta be real specific about they and them because you got people doing the work that you may categorize as they and them. This is stuff they found in 3D. This is tools they made. You know, they done mapped out the whole area. They know where the Nubian artifacts are. They mapped them on this map. They know where they are. Mm-hmm. There's so many pages of stuff here. like, like, look, they found blades. Like, come on, man. Like, at some point you got to give it up. Some point you gotta give it up. Oh man. Yes, I do have videos on my channel. I think they're on the Mossy channel as well. Of my trip to South Africa in the villages of the Lesedi village and in the museum. They got a lot of great museums in South Africa. So yeah, you know, this is a good question. What expert signed off on you collecting data on those caves in South Africa? I'm asking for a friend. Me. My initiative. I did it. Anybody got a problem with that, they know where to find me. But that's it, y'all, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. I appreciate y'all on the Father's Day. I hope that you got a Father's Day meal that's gonna be scrumptious and nutritious and delicious for you cooking up. I know I got one upstairs. I know it. I smell it. There's also Ose Ifa. So for those you know, Ifa worshipers or Rumila worshipers, Eku She Ojo Ose Ifa. If you know, you know. But yeah, man. I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all rocking out with us. Nobody's gonna bring you that type of research but the Mossy. Nobody's traveling to these places and bringing back the primaries like the Mossy. It's just what we do, man. What we will continue to do in the midst of all odds, in the midst of detractors, in the midst of, you know, whoever it is. So until next time.